Yeah, and it's so bad that they're now saying that they're going to remove any content that serves to mitigate the COVID-19 disease. And you would think that they would be like, maybe hydroxychloroquine, but no, it's so much that they're now going to ban vitamin C. And this is an interpretation of some words. This is literally said by the CEO of YouTube herself.
Hey friends, it's Sean from SGT Report here. I want to thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, a special thanks to my patrons, all the new patrons. Thanks for the outpouring of support. I can't thank you guys enough. In the face of YouTube's fascism, explicit fascism and tyranny, thank you so much for standing in the gap with me. And also, a quick thanks. I'm so grateful to have a sponsor. YouTube doesn't want us to have any advertising, so we have to go and get advertising of our own. So real quick, before we begin this interview with Zach Vorhies, the Google whistleblower, just a quick word from this interview's sponsor. With practically everyone working from home now, VPN security is required. With more and more hackers and identity thieves on the prowl, if you don't have a VPN, now is the time to get one. Virtual Shield has the easiest and fastest VPN on the market and offers a free 30-day trial. Here, let me show you how easy it is to protect yourself. You just go to virtualshield.com or app or Google Play Store and download the Virtual Shield free 30-day trial, install it, and click connect. Take a look. Once I'm connected, my IP address says it's one coming out of Chicago, and I don't live anywhere near Chicago, Illinois. Due to economic hardship caused by the coronavirus lockdown, Virtual Shield wants to extend a Customer Appreciation Month to everyone and offer 50% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons, including Protection Plus, Residential Access, and VIP Performance plans. So sign up to a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN to see what the hype's about. You have nothing to lose. I'll leave the link below this interview. And welcome back, friends. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in. Thank you for finding us on YouTube, and thank you so much for pushing play. And a very special, sincere thanks to my patrons. So many of you now are new patrons. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. So many of you stepped up to support us now that you know that YouTube has deemed, after 10 years of being a YouTube partner, that my channel is no longer eligible for monetization. This interview could not be more timely. It was scheduled almost 4 weeks ago, so God works in mysterious ways. I'm thrilled to welcome back to the show Zach Vorhies, the Google whistleblower, who also paid a very heavy price for speaking truth. Zach, welcome back.
Good to be back on the show, Sean.
Hey, it's a real pleasure to have you. How serendipitous. Let me show you this. I received this yesterday from YouTube. I logged into my channel and noticed that all my monetization features were gone. Now, most of my videos, usually 60 to 70%, were always immediately demonetized anyway. And it says, your channel is no longer eligible to monetize. Upon a recent review, we found that a significant portion of your channel is not in line with YouTube's monetization policies. Please review our feedback below and make changes. And what's their feedback? They say my channel consists of harmful content, content that focuses on controversial issues and that is harmful to viewers, to which I ask, what viewers? It's not harmful to conservatives or Christians or fans of the Constitution or pro-lifers or gun owners and advocates. So which viewers is it that my content is so harmful to, Zach?
It's harmful to the brands that are doing advertising with YouTube. It's these big, giant conglomerates whose ownership, spans across YouTube as well. And it's these giant advertising firms that are demanding that YouTube pull any channels from their ads, which is how you generate your money, or they're going to pull out. And a lot of the recommendations for who to take down are being outsourced. When I was there at YouTube, it was being outsourced to the ADL and the SLPC. And YouTube does this so that they can, if they ever get challenged on it, say, well, it's not us that made the decision. It was one of these third-party, organizations that did this. So it's really being driven by the advertisers and these self-appointed censorship people. And, the result is what you're seeing today. channels like yours are getting demonetized, even though they give a valuable viewpoint to the people, because obviously you're one of the largest channels on YouTube, right? You know, like obviously you're giving a lot of value to the audience, or else they wouldn't be coming and hitting the subscribe button.
Now, I discussed this with my wife last night just to give her perspective. And I know you'll share this perspective, Zach, but here's what's disingenuous about that being the only reason. Because this channel, my channel, was not getting McDonald's ads or Budweiser ads. I'm not in the top tier grade A advertising category. If and when my stuff got monetization, it was usually for like the local credit union. I mean, they're not great ads that I was getting in the first place. And the point I made to my wife last night, Zach, is that there are advertisers that very much want to reach conservatives and Christians and fans of the Constitution and gun owners. And there's plenty of advertising that would fit my channel, but YouTube isn't trying to protect those advertisers. They're trying to drive those of us telling the truth out of business.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I saw this exact same problem on the inside, because you had, you know, the YouTube CEO, Susan Wojcicki, going up there and saying that there's all these, you know, channels that have brand unsafe content. And so, you know, a question was asked, well, why don't we just democratize the whole thing? And, you know, what would that do to democratize it? It would allow the, you know, ad people to select which channels they wanted to run on. I mean, it's just as simple as that, right? Like if I'm selling soap and I don't want to appear on an SGT report, that should be my choice to not participate. But it shouldn't be, you know, YouTube making a blanket decision for everyone that nobody can advertise on this or that channel. I mean, that's a fake problem. And they're offering a fake solution, which is what they want to do. So they have to pretend that this problem that you're, you know, that Johnson & Johnson may end up on your channel is a real problem, even though it's got a technical solution. Yeah, and that's where we're at today, right? It's all fake.
I agree. Let me read this to you too. So my friend Ian, who works directly with YouTube in some capacity, he doesn't work for YouTube. He works for a company that helps me get outside advertising for my channel. Great guy. He sent me this morning based on the fact that my channel has been demonetized. Get this. Now YouTube has expanded its list of offenses of what's not allowed to be monetized. And get this. The list includes, Zach, content that exclusively features readings of other materials you did not originally create, like text from websites or news feeds. So now they don't want us informing the people and educating the people, for instance, on a lie or a piece of misinformation coming from the mainstream media. So they're going to protect Bezos' blog and ABC News and CNN from being exposed by preventing us from even reading articles coming from the mainstream media or other sources. This is absolute total fascism. This is China-style lockdown on the flow of information.
And you know, the way that they're able to do this is that they're using AI to parse the words that you're saying in spoken words and then turn it into a text file and then data mine that on recent articles that are being posted on, you know, news.google.com to see whether you're copying, you know, any content that's, you know, showed up in the database recently. And, you know, this is the scary thing about having such a giant tech company with a monopoly, all these different silos of information, because they're able to make connections like that. Oh, somebody's reading something that we know came from this report over here, so we're going to make it so that you can't even criticize the people without using coded language and kind of turning the report into a different report on the fly. And they want this. They want it to make it challenging, and they want to make it so that you know, the New York Times and the Washington Post and all these other failing, you know, fake news organizations can stay in business. I mean, that's my opinion on why they're doing this. Because why go to the Washington Post if I can just read or I can just watch a YouTube video of someone, you know, talking about what the Washington Post said and then criticizing it in the same video? Like, that's where people want to go. People like to watch a video more than they like to read a report, because lies are written down, and it's a lot harder to lie in person which is the reason why that they've got to fight against this video revolution that has appeared on social media, because it's a lot harder for people to lie because of all these different psychological cues, you know, which get completely eliminated when you write it down on paper, right? Like whatever's down on paper is almost like an orchestrated movie, like planned and designed and then, you know, given to the reader. And, you know, when we're talking extemporaneously, there's all these things like, how do we, you know, is this person a liar? You know, are they saying, you know, what's the back and forth like? It's that organic narrative, which is like utterly destroying the ancient printing presses of the last century.
Well, and what I like to remind people and say is that we were winning, right, in the battle for truth in the town square and waking people up, so they had to change the rules. That's what they did in January of 2019 when Google and YouTube said, we are changing our algorithms because there's too much truth out there. Now, those are my words, not theirs. They call truth misinformation or disinformation. So they changed their algorithms, thereby hurting channels like mine and so many others. And now they're taking away your ability to earn any money whatsoever on YouTube, even though I've been a YouTube quote-unquote partner for 10 years. So I essentially got fired from YouTube yesterday, just like you got fired from Google for telling the truth. And let's tell that story for people that don't know in a second. But let me show you this. Not only are they coming at truth news channels and alternative news channels and channels that talk about natural remedies and vitamin channels and anything good for human beings, they're coming after channels that question the Federal Reserve and our monetary system as well. This morning while I was getting ready, I called up on my phone YouTube and I typed in a search for Bitcoin and I got search results returns, Zach, that were a year, 2 years old, 2 months old. I got one current video from Data Dash, but nothing else current. So let's do a screen share right now and let's do a search for Bitcoin, because I think they're doing the same exact thing to Bitcoin channels. And really the question needs to be asked, why? Why is Bitcoin such a threat? All right, so here we go. CNBC, of course, Bloomberg, right at the top. They're going to give you mainstream media, CNBC television, 2 returns, 1 Bloomberg, right at the very top. So they're going to give you the mainstream media versions of truth right at the top. Yep. Then I get one from 21 hours ago. Here's a return from 2 days ago. Here's one from 10 months ago, 1 month ago, 4 weeks ago. There are channels out there like The Moon and many others that are making Bitcoin content every single day, sometimes twice a day, Zach, and they don't want those results to come up.
That's right. They want authoritative content getting pushed to the top. And this was first announced to YouTube in 2017, the month of June, during the Stream event, which was an all-hands company meeting at YouTube. And Susan Wojcicki got up to the front and stated that they were going to be pushing up the authoritative content and pushing down the fake news and fringe content. And that video was released along with my disclosure through Project Veritas. And, you know, this is something that they've been pushing for a while. Like, you know, we've been investing into this platform, you know, that we thought was, you know, YouTube, like yours. And it turns out that it's, you know, more like theirs, like TheMTube. And, you know, they're now pushing up what they consider authoritative content. Well, what does that mean? That means anyone with, you know, that orbits around the center leftist point on the political spectrum. And, you know, if you're Vice Magazine or the New York Times, you're considered authoritative and you get pushed to the top. You know, Dr. Fauci is being considered as authoritative. And so it's interesting to see that his stuff keeps on being, you know, in the headlines at the top of Google's search results. And, you know, in reality, you know, the fringe explanation of what's going on is actually correct. As was disclosed by Judy Mikovits in the last few weeks, Fauci is a criminal who covered up mouse retroviruses that were contaminating the vaccine supply and the blood supply. You know, and then you see what happens with a person like that. They're completely demonized. The New York Times and Vice have been writing articles about her and writing articles about me since I was running her PR Twitter at the very beginning. And so, you know, this is what happens. If you're authoritative, you get boosted. And if you are doing damage to that authoritative narrative, then you're getting deranked, you're getting suppressed, and you're getting outright attacked.
Yeah, and they've attacked Dr. Judy Mikovits. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Mikovits.
Mikovits.
You got it.
Okay, well, then, and they attacked her and tried to destroy her for being a little too truthy, for being very truthy, and now she's being attacked again. And she merely was calling out Dr. Fauci for his corruption. Meanwhile, we have Susan Wojcicki, who you mentioned, the CEO of YouTube, whose sister Ann Wojcicki is the CEO of 23andMe, the DNA database company, who is married, or at least was married, to Sergey Brin. So this stuff goes right to the top. They're all in it together. We've got the founder of TikTok, the Chinese founder of TikTok, just pledged $10 million in support for the Gates vaccine he's trying to find. And Susan Wojcicki over there at YouTube says, any content appearing on YouTube that questions any of the recommendations or policies or the agenda coming from the World Health Organization will be removed from YouTube. So we now know who our overlords are, the people that report to Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, and evidently the WHO.
Yeah, and it's so bad that they're now saying that they're going to remove any content that serves to mitigate the COVID-19 disease. And you would think that they would be like, maybe hydroxychloroquine, but no, it's so much that they're now going to ban vitamin C. And this is an interpretation of some words. This is literally said by the CEO of YouTube herself, saying that they're going to remove, she used two examples, vitamin C and turmeric, because they're unproven cures for COVID-19, which I think is just absolutely ridiculous. Turmeric is a very good anti-inflammatory that's completely natural. And vitamin C has been shown to be an immune booster that is critical for a wide range of viral infections. And so they're really, putting it out there that they're willing to just go to, I can't even say it any other way than saying that's demonic censorship. If you're going to ban vitamin C from the discourse of your platform for political points, like, you are in league with dark forces.
You are 100% right, and they are, and I want to quantify it. They won't like it, but here's a quantifiable on that. So when I mentioned the fact that they're no longer going to allow news channels like mine to read news from other sources and then analyze it, this is very much a EU policy. We're seeing these same types of Big Brother Orwellian copyright policies come out of the EU. So now YouTube is going to ignore our First Amendment in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and embrace tyrannical bylaws or recommendations coming out of the EU. And when it comes to vitamins, I would highly recommend liposomal vitamin C, friends, for your health. They are going to embrace UN Agenda 21 policies. And under UN Agenda 21, not only are we not going to have free speech, we're not going to have land to build our houses on, and we're not going to be allowed vitamins and nutritious supplements for our bodies and our health. This is literally an anti-human agenda, Zach. You're 100% right.
Yeah, they've told us everything that they're going to do in plain language, out for everyone to see, and now it's happening according to their plans. I really hope that all of this gets stopped, because I've been, fighting this fight now for over a year. For almost a year with Google on the outside. And I really thought that we were going to have mass arrests by now. I didn't think that we would have, that we wouldn't be entering into a Great Depression with what looks like unnecessary economic destruction at our hands.
That's right. Zach, I've been saying the exact same thing. I was filled with hope. I was on board with the white hats and the Patriots are in control train. And now things have changed so drastically since, on the back of this pandemic. Things have changed so drastically that it's quite shocking. We're seeing the Fed print trillions into existence. Now we see the Democrats asking for another $3 trillion in an 1,800-page bill that none of them could have possibly read. We're seeing absolute tyranny in states like Michigan. Here's some good news I wanted to share. Wisconsin, let me do a screen share. Here's how we have hope. This is just a big glimmer of hope, and it came just in the nick of time for me. Wisconsin Supreme Court strikes down the tyrannical governor's state stay-at-home order. This happened yesterday as we're having this conversation. So this happened on the 13th of May, and the Supreme Court, the highest law in the land in Wisconsin, has told the tyrant governor, You do not have the right to tell people to stay at home and go bankrupt. You do not have the right to tell people they can't go to work. You do not have the right to tell people they can't open up their barber shops and their small businesses. So that is a glimmer of hope in my view, Zach.
It is. It is. It's a bit, we need to see, this happen in pretty much all 50 states. Like, how much longer can we survive like this? Like, people have on average of $400 in savings. And, that has been wiped out. And yes, the government's, stepping in and, now giving people checks, which is, lessens the pain. But the amount of economic destruction that we're having is just really shocking. And I've got a lot of friends that are performers, and they can't get work right now because every single event in San Francisco Bay Area has been wiped out until sometime in 2021. Sure. And so how is this going to end? And now we see all this stuff happening with General Flynn. Like, finally, he's been exonerated. And now we've got QAnon posting this picture of a laser pointer that's being hit at a target, and then that target being decimated by helicopter rounds. I think it's some sort of, a gunship. I'm not a military guy, but some sort of gunship is just utterly destroying the target. And when I asked my friend Patrick Ryan what this meant, he said, it's happening. I was like, is it really happening this time? And he's like, it's really happening this time. And so the question that I have is, if things were about to get really crazy with politics, and we really were going to get rid of this deep state by bringing them and exposing them to justice, would we see all the crazy last-ditch effort things of the deep state that we're seeing today? And the answer is yes. We've seen this coronavirus, come onto America and unnecessarily wipe out all these businesses. And I haven't really seen any evidence that this thing is as real as what was seen in China, January and February. Because I really do believe that something big happened in China, and that over 1 million people died, and that there really was a biological release that happened in that country. But I don't see that same sort of level of precaution being taken here. Like, we're not seeing people being bolted into their doors. We're not seeing people's doors welded shut so that families can't come outside of their houses. And this was all video that I was seeing coming out of China and the Wuhan city in the Hubei province in January and February. And so, what's the Occam's razor solution that explains all this? And I've got a suggestion. I think that there's at least 2 different strains of this virus, a lethal strain and a less lethal strain. The more lethal strain is called the L type, and it was thought to be released from the Wuhan biolab. And, the media kept it silent because they didn't want to panic people. But then what happened is that there was an S type that was allowed to spread, which might be the common ancestor. And from the intelligence reports that I've read, this S type gives immunity to the dangerous L type. So it may have actually been, and this is an unconfirmed rumor, that there has been a campaign to infect people with an S type just so that the dangerous L type can't grab a foothold in America. And I don't know if that's right. That's just a rumor that I've heard, and it seems to fit the data in the best way that I've seen it.
Well, that's some cloak and dagger stuff, and I appreciate your insights. Let me just show you this. We'll go to my site, thephaser.com. Just to flush that out a little bit more, George Webb is doing some very interesting and compelling investigative journalism regarding this whole thing. I've posted his latest, NATO Dark Hand on Trump and Coronavirus Now Evident. You guys can go watch that. Zach, I think you'd really appreciate that to dig in. The hidden hand of the deep state, NATO. Anybody who doesn't know about Operation Gladio and all the false flag shootings that took place because of NATO, take a look at that. So I do think that the deep state, the globalist deep state, is playing a role here. But here's the problem, Zach. Let me show you this. We need to stay ever vigilant because, NBC News 2 days ago, Trump administration unveils plan to ramp up syringe production. DoD awards $138 million contract. You ready for this? Just reported on this yesterday. DoD awards $138 million contract enabling pre-filled syringes for future COVID-19 vaccine. This project is being called Project Jumpstart in Rapid USA. They want 100 million, right here, look at this, 100 million pre-filled syringes for distribution around the United States by the year end 2020. And the contract enables Appiject Systems America to accelerate the launch of Rapid USA with the goal of 500 million pre-filled syringes or doses in 2021. And this is all on the back of waiting for a vaccine. Rapid will provide increased life-saving capability against future national health emergencies that require population-scale vaccine administration on an urgent basis. Check out this line, Zach. Jumpstart to create a U.S.-based high-speed supply chain for pre-filled syringes beginning later this year by using well-established blow-fill-seal aseptic plastics manufacturing tech suitable for combating COVID-19 when a safe and proven vaccine becomes available. So I wanted to share that with folks again, just because I think you and I agree on a couple of fundamental truths. Dr. Fauci is corrupt, true or false?
Yes, true.
Bill Gates, I believe, is corrupt. You don't even have to answer that. Do you believe that the world should wait and stay in lockdown until Bill Gates comes up with a vaccine that's ushered out to the entire world?
No.
All right. So why in the world is the Department of Defense working on a project to get 500 million doses of a future vaccine across the country? Are they going to make it mandatory? These are the questions that need to be asked, Zach, because we are under a full court press by the deep state. And frankly, not even the deep state. Maybe the military-industrial complex, too, in the case of this, with the DoD being involved. Hey, friends, Sean here, just breaking in for a quick second with an update, new information to share. I recorded this interview with Zach 24 hours ago. It's hard to keep up. Things change so quickly. So just real quick, President Trump now has a vaccine czar, says January is a credible goal for Trump's 300 million dose target. The vaccine czar is a name I can't even pronounce, Monsef Slaoui or something like that, a former pharma executive. And President Trump is also saying not everybody will want the vaccine.
Do you mean a fully approved vaccine for everyone, the full public, or a partially approved vaccine with emergency use?
No, we're looking for a full vaccine for everyone that wants to get it. Not everybody's going to want to get it.
So that's good news, friends. It suggests that the vaccine will not be mandatory. However, I still do wonder, why is the military involved? Why is the Department of Defense involved? Why has Trump appointed as the vaccine czar a former big pharma exec? And why a vaccine at all when Professor Dolores Cahill, PhD, and others clearly know that hydroxychloroquine is a treatment that does work, and there's no need for any new vaccine.
And I am saying that only about 1 in 100 people will go on to develop a cough. And because we now are totally aware that the drug hydroxychloroquine with AZT and zinc can actually prevent those people from ever reaching hospital, that there is actually, a well-known prevention and a treatment. And because we have that, it's then entirely unnecessary to have these lockdowns.
So we'll keep our eyes on the totality of this story as it develops, friends. And now back to Zach.
Yeah, well, we've come to crossroads like this many times in the past. I remember North Korea, I remember Syria, and I remember Iran. And every single time I thought, oh, look, Trump is showing his true colors and now he's going to go to war. I've been dead wrong every single time. And so at this point, I'm tired of betting against the president when it looks like he's going to go down and he's setting a trap for the deep state. I'm not going to fall for it anymore. And so part of me is thinking along the lines of, this is Trump playing the same maneuver he's played 3 times before, yet again. And it looks like, an emerging narrative is that he's letting these deep state criminals do their deep state activities. And what he's going to do is he's going to crush them all at the same time, and he's going to catch them in their criminal activity. And right now they're in a Hail Mary pass. the deep state is. And if this coronavirus pandemic doesn't, pan out, they're going to lose the election, and it's like China's going to lose their access, the globalists are going to lose their access. We're going to have a nationalist government that's going to replace all of that. And so right now, what I believe, and I believe this in faith, is that Donald Trump is setting a trap for this big pharmaceutical cartel. And, I believe that the pharmaceutical cartels are the most powerful force in America. And so, this cartel has been saved for last. And I think that we're going to see a surprise, before the November election. And I think it's all about to come out. And I pray to God that that's what's happening, because I really love the United States. And if this mandatory vaccination thing comes in, then, I'm out. And I don't care, who's, in charge. I can't be forced to have a vaccine after knowing so much and coming to understand how many toxins are in those vaccines. And if this goes through, if people come out and this forced vaccination program comes to everyone, then that's it. I'm abandoning all hope. But I don't believe that. I believe that this is going to turn around, and that we're just not privy to the full plan. We're just given bits and pieces.
Well, and I hope that's true too. And I just want to say, I share this information not because I'm betting against the president. I love Donald Trump. I despise Hillary Clinton. I think we're blessed that she's not in there. But let me just say this. The picture I'm trying to paint for people based on quantifiable facts is how quickly we can lose our liberties to despotism and tyranny. And I want to drive the point home that we're seeing it in states across the country, states like Illinois, where the Democrat Pritzker is saying the state will stay locked down until a viable vaccine is available. That could take 18 months, it could take 12 months, it could take 2 years, it might never happen. But the guy is an absolute criminal. Same thing in Michigan with Gretchen Whitmer, a total tyrant. And in Canada, we're seeing the hand of the Queen, Justin Trudeau, announce a week ago that he's banning all assault weapons in that country. So this slippery slope into despotism globally is really becoming a fast-pitch dive off a cliff. And I just want people to understand that if President Trump wasn't in the White House and Hillary Clinton was, we might be seeing the exact same thing here that the people of Canada are seeing there. That's the point I want to drive home. This is how fragile our freedom is at this point. And again, let's go back to Wisconsin. What great news coming from that Supreme Court, standing up to a tyrant and saying, nope, the Constitution rules, stand down, you lose.
It's amazing. And it needs to be, I think it might even happen here in California. Recently we just had Elon Musk come out and say that he doesn't care what they say. He's going to open up his plants anyways. Arrest me. And he called their bluff, and he played chicken, and he won. Elon Musk is now opening up, and now the argument will be, well, if, Tesla is able to open back up, then why not any other businesses, which have people in proximity to each other? And I think what's going to happen is that, we're going to see a reopening up of this country by just all the people being disillusioned by the whole narrative, for them seeing everything that they love being destroyed unnecessarily. So thank you, Elon Musk, for being brave. America owes you a debt of gratitude for what you just did. And, for all the other business owners that are, that are managing large businesses, hopefully you can draw inspiration from Elon and realize that these petty tyrants that are acting as governors, they're scared to death of the public. And it only takes that one person that has the cojones to stand up and say, no, I'm opening back up, arrest me. And they're going to fold like a house of cards. So let's open up America again.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely right. Look, they cannot stand against all of us. These tyrants, let me do another screen share. You'll appreciate this, Zach. So this is in the state of Michigan. His name is Carl. He's owned a barber shop for 50 years, he says. He's built the business over 50 years. And he says, I'm not going to roll over. I'm not closing unless you want to drag me out here in handcuffs, which they probably will. Now, my wife and I were talking about this morning. Do you know who's standing in front of his barber shop, which he opened against the Michigan tyrant's ruling? He opened his barber shop. The police came, but the 8 police cars that showed up, they couldn't haul him away and force him to close. Do you know why? Because the Michigan militia is standing outside the door, and they say, if you want to get to Carl, you have to come through us. So the cops got in their cars, and they drove away. So what we're seeing in Michigan is so, so important. And my wife and I were talking about this morning, and she said Governor Whitmer, the Michigan governor, was just on that sycophantic show, The View, and all of those women gushed over Whitmer and how eloquent she is and how poised and how beautiful and how intelligent she is. They gushed like sycophants all over her, right? And they maligned the militia as being Nazis and white supremacists and rioters. That's the mainstream media's view on this thing. Let's just listen to Carl in his own words for a second, Zach.
What do you think you mean to this community? What have the people around here said?
Listen, you're going to bring me to, you're going to choke me up here, so. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Yeah, this is. I thought I was going to be out here, twisting in the wind by myself. And here's one of my beautiful daughters right here. So yeah, I'm in the game. I'm in for the long run. I'm in full in. So I'm not going to roll over. I'm not closing. Unless you want to drag me out of here in handcuffs, which they probably will. That poor woman down in Texas, for God's sakes, they mistreated her awful. So, I suspect that they'll probably do something similar here. I would expect that they came over today with, oh my gosh, it was 6 or 8, guys, ready to do a rumble here. And I've got, these little twins, these little quads, here. That was what they met. This was the resistance they met, these little kids. So yeah, these are all family people that are in here. They're all people that, believe in their rights, and they're really behind me, and the phone calls that I've had from all over this country and out of the country, from other countries I've had phone calls, and just telling me to, stay in there, stay courageous, don't cave in. I don't plan on caving in, that's
Anyway, that's Carl, and it's a real battle. It's the battle that humanity has been going through since the dawn of civilization, right? The forces of evil trying to take away the rights of those that are good. It's so tribal, and I think the tribe right now that stands against this nation is the globalist deep state, the George Soros, Rothschild banking cabal that want to usher in a new world order and take away all our rights, and they want us to live on their plantation like serfs for the rest of time. That's my view on this thing.
Yeah, and they don't like democracy. They don't like decentralized government. It gets in the way of their ability to control the planet. And so what they want to do is they want to go back to what they know works, which is monarchies and cult states. In fact, they don't even want a monarchy. They want a cult state, which is modeled after the Egyptian style of rule, which is you create a god emperor and everyone worships it in a cult-like frenzy. And right now we've got a cult-like frenzy. Look at the last president, Barack Obama, one of the most murderous presidents America has ever had. And people think that this guy is amazing. And, if you just follow the news and you read like what he was involved in, and what the deep state was involved in, then you'll see that this is one of the worst presidents in the history of America. And what they want to do is they want to create another person like this that has a cult-like following, and that everyone has an allegiance to this, to the all-powerful state. And they're going to fail because, there is a natural force for decentralization, for freedom. It lives somewhere within the human spirit given to us by God. And when we, vibrate with that higher order consciousness, we become free. And people that have set their devices to controlling the planet need to extinguish that light, which is why they're against God, because God itself is the manifestation of freedom and love and all that is good. And while that exists, they can't have their centralized control mechanism. That's the reason why when communism takes over these countries, buildings turn ugly and art turns rancid, because you can't have someone that has allegiance to the state and have beauty at the same time. And this isn't just my words. This is something that's been noted over and over and over again, and is the reason why so many things in these Soviet countries are just completely ugly and monolithic. And you're seeing this postmodern art come at us even to this day. And this postmodern art with these giant buildings that make you feel small and unimportant, it's designed as a sort of spiritual attack against each one of us.
Well, I agree. Well, how about Marina Abramovic?
Yeah.
And then to add injury to insult, she gets sponsored by Microsoft, her new installation, and they do a whole ad about Marina Abramovic, the visionary, the spirit cooker that was exposed in the Podesta emails, then brought out again about a year and a half or two later and celebrated as a visionary by Microsoft, the company founded by Bill Gates. You can't make this up.
Did you see the like and dislike ratio? It was 10 times more dislikes than likes.
Yeah, so much so that Microsoft took the ad down. They stopped playing the ad.
Down, which is great. Like, we're starting to see that, this opinion that there's a cabal of Satanists controlling the world is going from fringe to mainstream.
It's truly a great awakening. Absolutely. All right. I want to ask you about Section 230, lawsuits, etc. For those that don't know, SGT Report is on BitChute. My channel's there, guys, but YouTube is the second most popular website in the world behind Google, which is #1. So we're going to talk about Section 230 and any potential lawsuits in a second, but I'm sorry to report, Zach, I have to show you some bad news. Before I do that, this just came up in real time. Before I do that, do we both agree that vaccines are the line in the sand? Anything mandatory that they would inject or demand be injected into we the people? Is that a line in the sand for you?
That's a line in the sand for me, yes.
It's a line in the sand for me too. So I'm really sorry to show you guys this. On the back of that DoD Project Jumpstart and Rapid USA, this comes from my friend Spiro over on Twitter. I just saw this in real time. Breaking, President Trump says he will mobilize military to distribute COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to comment on that. People are going to have to go down this path on their own. If the time comes when you're being forced to get a vaccine, if you want to go back to work or work at all or travel or fly on a plane or be an American, then we're no longer in America. That's my view on this.
Look what they're trying to do. They're trying to give a vaccine that's going to have a quantum dot so that they can tell whether you're vaccinated against, whatever disease, in this case, the coronavirus. But additionally, this new vaccine that they're trying to introduce is not a vaccine that's ever been seen before. This vaccine is a DNA vaccine. At least one of them are. And this DNA vaccine uses an adenovirus to reprogram your cell's DNA to grant immunity. And I don't know why they're doing this. I just know that they are doing this and that Bill Gates is funding it, and that this vaccine is the one that they're trying to rush through as quickly as possible without standard safety testing in order to push it into people. And the question is, why? Why do they have to use this new type of vaccine? And I don't have the answers to that. And when I try to think of the answers, it makes me kind of afraid. Like, what are they going to program us with? What are they going to inject us with that reprograms our cells? Like, I understand that you give a virus and then your body fights off the virus, but why new DNA that's going to infect you? Like, why does this need to be rammed through right now? At what point are we going to say, no, we're not going to allow this? And additionally, here's the biggest question. If Trump is in on this and he's really serious about doing all this vaccine stuff, why would it be allowed? Why would the anti-vax movement have gotten so big? Like that just seems to cause a whole bunch of chaos. Like, you know, the intelligence services of the world allow the vaccine movement to get incredibly large so that they can wake everyone up that vaccines are contaminated with a bunch of things. And then at the height of the anti-vaccine movement, we then get forced to take vaccines for a fake pandemic. Does that make any sense to you? Like, if Trump really was in on this, you would think that he would not allow the anti-vax movement to spread, that it would have been suppressed. And so right now I see this conflict of the vaccine movement's really high, and also we're going to now have forced vaccination. I think that the forced vaccination is the thing that's not going to happen.
Well, I hope you're right. To me, in California, when criminal Governor Jerry Brown passed into law SB 277 requiring mandatory vaccines for children if they want to go to school, I said that was the line in the sand. I was wrong. People stood down. Evidently, they're just going to go along with it. And so now I've been saying the line in the sand is the Second Amendment. We would never let them disarm us. But I didn't see this coming. I didn't see the potential of a mandatory vaccine from coast to coast 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months ago, a year ago. I did not see this. This was not imaginable, Zach. So on the back of this pandemic, now we find ourselves here. And we need to be ever vigilant, because to me, personally, because I have 2 damaged sons from vaccines, a mandatory vaccine for me is a line in the sand. Because yeah, you're right. We don't know what's in it. There could be nanotechnology in it. There could be all sorts of things. Are we to trust the sanctity of our blood and the sanctity of this creation that God has endowed us with, our bodies? We're to trust Bill Gates, whose father was a eugenicist who ran Planned Parenthood? I mean, they've jumped the shark here, my friend. They've jumped the shark if they're going to try to make a vaccine mandatory.
And why is Bill Gates identifying as a doctor all of a sudden? Like they're saying, oh, we can't have anything but credible voices. Bill Gates does computers. He doesn't do medicine, right? All of a sudden, it's Bill Gates, and now CNN's going to have Greta Thunberg as an expert on their panel. And it's just like, you know, this is the biggest joke about the whole authoritarian censorship, is that the voices that they're promoting aren't authorities on the topics that they're speaking about.
That's absolutely right. Hey, before we lose you, I want to ask you just real briefly, give us 5 minutes on Section 230 and any potential lawsuits. YouTube should not be able to do what they're doing. They shouldn't be able to openly be biased against conservatives and Christians and Bitcoiners and any speech they don't like. Section 230 offers them certain protections, but they lose those protections when they pick and choose who has free speech. What is the potentiality of a lawsuit against Google and YouTube? Is it realistic at all?
It is, because the thing is that Section 230 is their indemnification. It prevents a lawsuit from being filed for them doing filtering against any person, as long as they maintain that such filtering is done, you know, in the public interest, specifically because it's objectionable content, and like profane, and, you know, like pornography is kind of like how the whole thing was worded. And what they're doing is that they're not, you know, censoring profane content. They're practicing viewpoint discrimination. And this is something that I, you know, blew the whistle on, that they were doing with their, you know, project called Machine Learning Fairness. And, you know, what they're doing is outside the bounds of Section 230. Now, they're allowed to go ahead and, you know, do things that are outside the bounds of Section 230, but the ramifications of that means that they lose their identification, which means that they can be sued because of, you know, essentially, let's just call it invalid censorship, which is what they're doing all over the place. What I've been noticing is that there have been a large number of people waking up all of a sudden. Like a lot of the lawyers that I've been talking to have been asleep and thought that I was a little bit like out there. Now that this pandemic has hit, they're just like, okay, now I see it. What do we do? And so I'm organizing a plan to take back America from big tech censorship by collecting all of us that have been unfairly censored by YouTube in a class action lawsuit. I'm working with Dustin Nemos on this, and this is called Stop Bit Burning. See, the fascists of yesterday used to burn books, and that's how they did their censorship. But the fascists of today burn bits. They don't burn books, they burn bits. And so we're putting a stop to this. Our website is called stopbitburning.com. People can go there and register and send us a video about how you're getting demonetized, how you're being censored, how YouTube and Google are unfairly targeting you and destroying your business. And together, we're going to take all those people and those videos, have a crowdfunding effort in order to fundraise for an attorney that is very prominent and very much in the circle of President Trump. I won't say who it is, that wants to help America get their freedom back, and is going to do that with, this class action lawsuit, which is going to sue for, civil conspiracy to a, torturous interference of commerce. Because, Sean, when you get your page, demonetized, you're not a free customer. You're in a financial relationship with YouTube. And they've decided that they're going to, as a monopoly, censor you. Well, that's got Sherman antitrust. That's got civil conspiracy painted all over it. And there's various jurisdictions and differing laws, depending on state, in which, Google and YouTube can really be nailed. And so, I invite all of those people that are listening to come to stopbitburning.com and join the fight against censorship, because we're not done with the censorship. The censorship is going to get worse. And that's the reason why we've created this project, in order to turn back the tide of censorship and give you back a voice and the people that you listen to. So that's what I have to say about, big tech lawsuits, coming soon.
All right. Well, very good. And I've been on a couple of those calls that Dustin has helped arrange and coordinate between many of us in the YouTube community. I'll be getting Dustin on sometime, I think, in June to kind of give us an update about that. Zach, I really, really appreciate you and your voice. Just final word from you. How are you holding up under all of this pressure? Google threw you under the bus. They tried to ruin you for merely telling the truth and blowing the whistle on their fascism, essentially. How are you holding up?
I'm good. We're being targeted right now. The New York Times wrote a hit piece on me a couple days ago, and then Vice just wrote a hit piece right before this call, calling me out because I dared to raise an effective GoFundMe account to help boost up Judy Mikovits in the movie, which became, a huge sensation. And because I was effective, they're now going after me. And, I'm going to keep on fighting because I'm not afraid. And that's all I can do. And the thing is that I'm expecting way more attacks to come as I move forward because they know now that I am effective at what I've done and not just a one-off. Like I am, putting my effort and, sacrificing comfort and a career in order to make America and its Constitution something that is timeless and will be honored. And it will be honored. What's being done to people like you, Sean, is absolutely evil, and we're going to put a stop to it. And it's not just going to be one or two, it's going to be all of us together in a where we go one, we go all mentality.
I love your passion. The documentary you're talking about, I'm sure it's called Plandemic.
Yes.
Yeah.
By my friend Mickey Willis.
It's a must watch, absolute must watch. YouTube kept trying to delete it and it didn't matter. People kept posting it. It's all over the world. People have seen it, I think, millions and millions of views. Well, Zach, you are a bit warrior, my friend, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Oh, and by the way, if you want to follow me and join the fight, follow me on twitter.com/perpetualmaniac. If you want to see my disclosure, come to my website. That's zachvorhies.com. Thank you very much, Sean.
No, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it. And guys, thank you so very much. Again, a very, very special and sincere shout out to my patrons. I've had an outpouring of support since I informed people about the DoD Project Jumpstart and Rapid USA, that $138 million funded to get syringes, 500 million doses spread across the country. And then I mentioned in that video what YouTube did in demonetizing my entire channel. So my thanks to those who have reached out. Thank you for your support. We're all in this mess together, friends, and the walls seem to be closing in, so we really need to stand together, speak out. Take a page out of the playbook you see in Michigan. It just warms my heart to see the militia stand with that barber, Carl, to keep his business open.
Thank you, Carl.
It really does, man. It's just, we're seeing things, Zach, that we would have never dreamt possible just 3, 4, 5 months ago. So we're going to find out real quick what we're all made of in this country. Are we the land of the free and the home of the brave, or not? Friends, thanks so much. We very much appreciate you. Much love to your family. Stay safe. And for Real News 24/7, visit us directly at sgtreport.com, the antidote to corporate propaganda and Mockingbird mainstream media lies 24/7. God bless. Bye-bye.
The middle class is being annihilated. It's like 9/11 in slow motion here. And money is being looted from the middle class and transferred to the 0.01%, to the money masters.